Hello, hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me? How's everybody doing today?
Great. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. All right. I'm just we're just fixing up some little things before we start completely, and I just want to make sure right now you can see me correctly,
Yes.
and can you
Yes.
see the presentation, what I'm sharing?
Yes.
So thank you everybody for being here. Today, the goal of today is to share with you the new releases that we have with the Peel OS software and the Peel CAD, going from Peel 1.03 to Peel 1.04. And today, the way we're going to be presenting, well, basically, I'm going to present myself and present my colleague Marcio. So I am Jose Calderon. I am the sales specialist for the USA. And we have also today Marcio Gnapik, who is our sales engineer, sales application engineer. And today in our presentation, we're going to start with the new features. And yeah, so we're going to talk about the new features that we have with the Peel OS and the Peel CAD. So new features that we have in the Peel OS are features, for example, like the new mesh properties that you'll be able to have when you're done with your scan. You'll be able to see some properties like the triangle counts, how many vertices, the volume, the surface of your scan, and things like that. Another of the improvements that we have in Peel OS is also the surface merging. So instead of merging with if you're not able to merge with the targets, you'll be able to merge with the surfaces. I mean, you'll be able to select that. Another one is the remove background options. We have two new options in the remove background. So you'll be able to select your background in a different way. And we have some other features in Peel OS as well. And other features that we have in Peel.CAD are going to be features like the interactive selection. So you'll be able to interactively select through your 3D viewer. Also, you can share. Okay, we're just going to switch our screen to Marcio. He's going to be able to share everything. Are you sharing? All right, perfect. All right, yeah. So yeah, so other features that we have like interactive selection, interactive feature selection as well. So interactive feature selection, you'll be able to change your features size and spatial placement and a few more other features. So we're going to go through them. But as we start, we're going to start with a live demo. We're going to have Marcio showing a scan, doing a scan. And as he goes, I'm going to explain how he's doing the scan. And we're going to continue to scan a small little part. And I'm just going to explain quickly what's happening while he's scanning. So, well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the scanner itself. Scanner has two cameras that are capturing the geometry and surface of the object. A third camera that is capturing the color and texture of the object. And then you have the surface, you have the projector that is projecting in infrared light, and you could see a series of lines that is being projected on the object. The green lines means that it's at the right distance. Blue, you're a little bit too far. Red, you're a little bit too close. So always trying to stay within the green zone while you're scanning. Right now he's using a little turntable, making it easier to scan, just turning around the table and making sure he gets all the angles of the object as he's going around. you see that the colors also adapt on the targets that he is capturing. So when you're at the right distance from the target's going to change color as well. But if a little bit too far right now, it's vibrating. The scanner has a haptic vibration, and it's letting you know if you're too far, and it has a different vibration as well. When you're a little bit too close, it's going to vibrate a little bit faster. And then you could see on the screen the red lines. So if you're not looking at your screen and you're scanning, you will know if you're too far or too close, because of the vibration is a little bit different when you're doing so. So as he's pausing it right now, so that was basically the scan portion right there. And one of the things that we wanted to show you, I'm just going to switch the camera back to me. I'm going to do this for now, and then I'll switch it back to you, Marcio. So I'm just going to switch my camera quickly. Oh. All right, so you guys can see me. All right, so one of the things that we have right now with the PLOS, when we go to the next steps. So right now it's going to be processing the data. It's going to take us to the clean. Now we have the remove background. So the remove background, this is a new, we have two new selections in the remove background, which is select your background. You can now, instead of having the remove background like it does automatically right now, you could select your background as you want. I'm just going to cancel this and go back to the remove background right here. So when I click here and I click on select background, I see all my scan right there. And I basically just click where I want my background to be selected. So I just clicked on the background right here, and you saw that it's selected. It created a clipping plane, and now it's going to delete everything that is underneath that clipping plane. So that is one of the ways of removing the background. The other way is by going back here and doing the select targets. This is a new way of creating your clipping plane to remove the background, is by selecting 3 targets that will create a plane. So you click here on select target, and I click on my first point. You'll see that it turns orange, meaning that it's selected. I click on this one, and I click on this one, and then it creates my new clipping plane right there. And if I want to, I could bring it up, bring it down, however I want. So it is based off that clipping plane that was created with those 3 targets. So that is one of the new enhancements that we have with the PLOS, which is the remove background. Then the next step is when we go to the improve step right here. So we're going to go directly right there. So once you finish your scan, if you've merged it, you send it to the alignment. You could align it right there with the axis, the planes, and all that. And then you go to the improve. In the improve now, we'll see we have a new function that is right here, which is the mesh properties. So when we click here, you will see all the properties of your mesh. So you have the triangle count, the vertex count, the mean edge length, watertight, if it's watertight or not, the volume of your scan, the area, and the boundary perimeter. So you have all these properties that you now have available. And the other thing that we have in PLOS, so mainly these are the main changes that we have. What are the changes that we have? We also have
disabling the videos and media.
Oh, yes, we also can disable the videos and media. So as you see right now, when you are going through your software, you always have little videos showing you how to use the function. So as I go here, for example, and fill holes, I have that little video that pops up, and it shows me how to use it, what it does. So if I don't want these little videos appearing like that anymore, let me just remove this. I could go here to the options, go to general and disable the contextual help media videos and images. So this will disable those little videos, and you won't have them appear every time that you go over the functions.
Jose, we have a question here, how to enable on off the haptic.
Yeah, if we want to enable on and off the haptic, that is in the scan, and it's right here. So you can enable on and off the haptic feedback. So that is one of the ways to, well, the only way to do it right there. Okay, so these are the main changes that we have in PLOS. Now we're going to go to pl.cat. I'm going to switch it over to Marcio. He's going to show us. I'll be explaining what we see on his screen. So if you could share your screen, Marcio. I'm going to stop the share. Okay. All right, so one of the first things that we have is the interactive entity parameters. So in the interactive entity parameters, we can now select the entity sizes that we want. So for example, when we're creating a cylinder, you could basically create your cylinder, and you could select the, Marcio's going to do it right now. He's going to create a cylinder, and you could pull up and down the size of the cylinder that you want. So for different type of features like the planes, cylinder, cones, as you can see right there, you'll have some arrows, and you'll be able to pull up and down on the size of the cylinder that you want. So right now he did it with a cylinder. He's going to do it with a cone. Again, same thing. You have the possibility. You see the blue arrows mean that you could pull it up and down. And then if you show it with a plane, so switching to a plane entity, you can now select, increase the size of your plane, and even move it around, pan it around where you want your plane to be. You could increase it so that it goes through the whole scan, and you could move it around up and down to have it where you want. So this makes the creation of your entities a little bit more interactive, more intuitive, and easier to work with. So the next one, if you could go back to the presentation, Marcio. The next one is the interactive selection. So the interactive selection is basically you'll be able to select the meshes that you are working with directly on your 3D viewer. So as you see, as you put your mouse over the meshes, they will highlight, and you'll be able to directly select them instead of going onto the navigation tree. And even on the 3D viewer, you'll be able to duplicate, you delete it if you want to, and you'll be able to select the mesh that you want and see the properties, and export that mesh if you need to as well. So there's less back and forth from the navigation tree view and the 3D viewer. So that is one of the other features that we have. So it's basically the selecting of the meshes and entities directly on the 3D viewer, making it easier and more user-friendly. One of the new features that we have is that you'll be able to select parts of your cross-section and delete them. So if they are through your cross-section, if there are different curves that you don't want to keep, you'll be able to select them directly in your entity details and delete them. So for example, right here, he has a cross-section of the flange right there, and he has the curve number 2, and he deleted. That was the curve right inside of the middle, and you could delete it. So that's a new feature that we have, is that you could select the curves inside your cross-section that you want to keep and that you want to delete. That is a new feature that we have in pl.cat. So you see, instead of having the full interior curve, he deleted it. If you could delete another one just to show, you see deleting a couple of little circles here and there, making it easy for you to keep just what you want from your mesh. All right. So the next improvement that we have in PLOS, give me guys a second. All right, so the next one is the align to origin. So for years, our align to origin has stayed the same with the constraints and the manual selection, the manual movement. With constraints, you can constrain with using the entities that you want, using a line, using a plane, a point, and things like that. And with the manual selection, you could move around your object, but it was always linked to where the origin of your alignment was. So if your origin was here and your part is here, it would keep the origin always there, but it would move your object around that origin. So before it was linked like that. Now we have the new way, which is called move object, and Marcio will show us right here. Now you can move the object and it will move it always in relation to the center of mass of your object, keeping the alignment in the center of mass of your object. So we'll see right now as he goes to the move object, and he has both objects right there. The alignment, the origin for both are in the center of mass. And as you pull on the axis or the rotations, it will move it around, making it easier for moving your object around if you need to get them closer one to another. So this is a new feature that we have for the manual alignment. So is the move object always in relation to the center of mass of your object, so making it easier to do your movements. So now, as you can see, we could put some hats on statues if we need to. All right, the next that we just saw. The next step that we have, the new features that we have, are the multi-mesh operations. So now with the multi-mesh operations, we can select multiple meshes in our scan, in our navigation tree, and we could do a clean mesh, or we could do a decimate. So you'll see, as Marcio is selecting various meshes, we could see that we have some icons that are available. So we have the clean mesh, which will clean all the abnormalities of the mesh when it was generated. We have decimate, which will reduce the number of triangles on your mesh. And we also have the combine and merge. So before, in the previous version, we could only do clean mesh or decimate on one mesh at a time. Now we could do it on various meshes all together. So we could select a bunch of meshes and do the decimate or the cleaning of your mesh all together with different meshes, even if they're not all merged together, but all in the same space. So that is a new feature that we have. The next feature, some of the improvements that we did are with the algorithms for some of the features that we already had before. So making it, fixing the algorithms is making these functions a little bit higher performance, faster, and easier to use. So the two biggest ones that we've improved the algorithms are for the watertight remesh and the smooth mesh. So with the watertight remesh, basically before, when we were creating a watertight remesh, it would give us some weird results. Sometimes it would create some weird bubbles in places where there was too close to the edges or borders and things like that. And it would close it off in just in weird areas and weird places. Now with the PL 1.04, it's doing it much faster, and the algorithm is creating much better results. So just like you could see from one to the other, going from 57 seconds to 16 seconds. So that is quite an improvement just by improving the algorithms that have been used before. The next one is the smooth mesh. So with the smooth mesh, now we have some presettings that are adapted to the mean edge length, to the resolution. So the smooth edge, the algorithm now with the smooth mesh is taking in consideration the geometry of your object, the edges, all the features of your object, and smoothing them by adapting them to your mean edge length, basically your resolution. So that is an improvement that has been done. And it also now we have some preset parameters for your smoothing. So we have medium, low, and high. So they will be setting the number of iterations and preserve details accordingly to the low, medium, or high that you've selected. But if you still want to fine tune by yourself, you still have the sliders that you can move around as you want and give you the smoothness that you need. So that is one of the new improvements that we have for our smooth mesh algorithm. Now, for the pièce de résistance that a lot of people have been asking for, before we had three main CAD softwares in which we could do direct transfer to. Now, we are proud to present that we have a fourth one, and is the Autodesk Fusion 360. So now you'll be able to directly transfer all your entities and your scans directly to Fusion 360, and they will be native features. So you'll be able to directly play with them in the software once you have transferred them. So we will show you guys a little video of direct transfer to Fusion 360. So right there, he selected a bunch of features. So he has surface, cross sections, and cylinders, and transferring that, selecting the Fusion 360, and it transfers it directly there. And you could see right there, we have the cross sections of the bottom and the top flange. You could select the flange, you could select the contour that you want and start doing some extrusions. Right there, he is selecting the length of extrusion that he wants to do in both directions. And as you could see, we could really recreate, and reverse engineer our part directly into Fusion 360 now that we have the direct transfer from PeelCAD to Fusion 360. So directly selecting the features that you want and creating everything that you need. All right, I think we could pass to the other one. And all right, so for other little various improvement that we've done through the software, for PeelCAD, we have improved the pipe center line. So now with the pipe center line, you can extend the length of your center line, and you could also create some circles on the pipe center line. These will be hidden entities, and they will only be visible once you export them. For the keep only triangles, we've added that feature that we had in PeelOS. We have it now in PeelCAD. So now instead of doing a selection, invert selection, and delete, you could basically select what you want to keep and delete everything else that you don't need. So that is a new little feature, a little improvement that we've done. And with the new construction methods throughout the features, throughout the geometrical features that we create, we have new construction methods. For example, we have the point and circle by intersection. We have circle by sphere plane intersection, and point by line and cylinder intersection. So those are new little ways of constructing points, circles, and other points. And now we also have a multiple PeelOS file import into PeelCAD. Before, we used to be able to just import one mesh at a time, one session at a time. Now we can select a bunch of them. We could select 2, 3, 4, 5 if you want to, and all bring them into PeelCAD into the same project that we're working in. So a little improvement like that are just going to make it easier for you to work with, easier and faster to work with as well. So I could pass to the next one. So guys, these are the major, most of the major enhancements that we've done for our Peel OS and Peel.cad 1.04. And right now we're going to pass to the questions. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead, and we're just going to check the questions that have been on since we started. So we had Michael R. Sanders. How do you accommodate for depth differences? Maybe if you could come back to this one, Michael. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe we've passed it when we were doing it. I'm not too sure exactly at which point it was. Enabling on and off haptic procedure that we've shown. Does this update OS allow importing of other STL and or CAD files for a best fit comparison of mesh surfaces? So the Peel OS, you can import other meshes done with a PL3, but you cannot import an STL file from another scan or a CAD model as well. Still, you could do mesh-to-mesh comparison done with a PL3, but to import an STL or import a CAD file, we cannot do it. Maybe I missed it, but what cameras, scanners are you compatible with? So this software is just for PL3. So Peel OS and Peel.cad is just for the PL3 scanner. Will Peel OS work with my PL2 3CAD? Keith, unfortunately, no. The PL2 and PL2S are one separate software. And now for the PL3, we've revamped the software, the data acquisition module for the PL3, and enhanced a little bit more the PL-CAD module, and it's only for the PL3 scanner. So unfortunately, there is no cross-platforms there for the scanners that we have.
Can you import his PL2?
You could, if ever you decide to go with a PL3 in the future, and you have scans that you've done with the PL2, you'll be able to import those scans done with the PL2 and PL2S into the PL-OS and PL-CAD module. All right, let's see our other question. Regarding the haptic on-off, my PL-OS does not have the on-off button in the option scan paints.
Scanner must be connected.
So the scanner, MJ Fanning, you have to make sure that the scanner is connected when you are doing that that change. So if you don't have it connected, it won't show you the option. Is this new Fusion 360 compatibility going to be available for PL2 scanners? Unfortunately, no. The Fusion 360 import is only for the PL-OS and PL-CAD, well, the PL-CAD module for the PL3 scanners. Then Rob, does scanning in color improve the scan quality? It always gets lousy results, but color seems to help. So when you're scanning with color, it's going to use the colors and texture to use as a positioning system. So there are three methods of positioning yourself in space with the scanner. So the first one is with the targets. The second one is with the geometry of your object. And the third one is with the colors and texture of your object. So if you are scanning with colors, it will use naturally unique features on your object and use that as reference points for when it's positioning itself in space. So yes, it will improve the scan quality because it will be using that other feature to be able to position itself in space so that it gets better data out of it. Then Michael, in our initial scan, in your initial scan, there was some blue dots indicating too far, but rest of scan was green. In general, when there is an interior part that is deeper than surrounding, how does that work? Too far, but the rest of the scan is green. There is an interior part. Okay, yeah, so basically you're going to have to place yourself at the right distance from the surface that you're trying to capture. So even if you have an object that has a big opening and you're trying to capture the interior, the interior wall of your opening, you try to position yourself at the right distance from that surface right there. So even if it gives you some red around it, but it's seeing green inside, you'll be able to get the right distance, the right data of the surface that you're trying to collect. So always with this scanner here, with the PL3, you have to be within 9.8 inches up to 14 inches, I think, 14 to 16 inches. So depending on the size of the object that you're scanning, you can get closer, a little bit further. But when you're scanning an interior part, you just have to position yourself, making sure that the cameras are looking inside and are giving you the details, the data that you want. So always try to position yourself as perpendicular as possible to what you're trying to acquire. Then PL3 4.01, no, it's the PL3 PLOS 1.04. Link it to Fusion. The mesh comes in ISO units, but is normally scanned in inches. Will you match units for transferring into Fusion in the next update? For this, I'm not quite sure. If you're scanning in meshes, I think usually with any CAD software, you could select the units in which you're importing your by default your data. So you would have to check in your Fusion if the imports of scans are in inches and millimeters or in feet or whatever units you're working with. But normally you could set the units in which you want to import your data. And then we have Mike. Is there any way to save target only when scanning large surfaces? Yes, there is. I don't know if Marcia, you want to show it?
You have this scan.
I have the scan data. Oh, okay, I'll show you guys right here with, just going to share my screen quickly. So if I go back to scan, okay. So we're just going to go back to scan right here. And we have right here, scan targets. So this is a good feature that we added on the previous update. And the scan targets, like you said, when you're scanning a large object, it's always very good because you're able to scan your whole positioning system before you start scanning the surface. So if you're scanning a whole car, let's say, you could put your targets all over the place where you need them, and then you could separate your scans in different sessions. So you could do the front in one session, the middle in another session, and the back in a third session. And then when you're going to import everything, since you did all those scans with one positioning system, you could do them in different days as well. If everything stays the same, you'll be able to import everything together in your PL-CAD. And since they all use the same positioning system, they will all appear at the right place where they should, because they're all using the same positioning system. So yes, when you go to scan, we have here scan targets only, and you'll be able to scan your targets only. Can you share your screen again, Marcio? And let's see questions that we have. We have a question from Rob. What is the approximate depth of field for scanning? or despite my best effort, it seems my scanner is constantly vibrating. So the approximate depth, let me tell you right now. So it's between 9 inches to 14 inches. Let me just verify just to be sure, so that I give you the right information.
1867, 13.
So, oh, no, it's actually longer. So it's from 9.8 inches up to 21.7 inches. So if you are scanning a car, you could go all the way to 21 inches from the surface of your scan. So Rob says, I thought targets were optional. Is this incorrect? So targets are optional only if you have enough geometry in your object to be able to use that geometry as reference when you're scanning.
It's not optional when you have tiny and small, tiny part and very fine
Okay.
resolution.
It's not optional when you select in the parameters tiny and very fine for your resolution. But for the rest, when you have enough geometry in your object, it will use that geometry on your object to be able to track itself in space so that it knows where it is and be able to give you the best results. Last week, for example, we went and we scanned a boat. I was able to scan the whole motor of a boat without not using not even one target. So since there's a lot of geometry, a lot of things in there, it was using that as reference to be able to position itself. But if you're scanning something that is very large, that doesn't have geometry, like let's say the hood of a car, basically looks the same everywhere, then you will need some targets to be placed because it would not know if you're here, or here, because everything looks the same. It's like scanning a table. Try to scan a table, it's flat, it looks the same everywhere. So the more geometry you have, the less targets you'll need. The less geometry you have, the more targets you're going to need. And then we have another question by Jet. Is there any way we can get a copy of this webinar recording in the future? Yes, we will have, you will have access to this webinar as soon as we're done. Afterwards, we're going to save it and you will all be contacted and have access to the webinar and the recording. All right, and then another question from Mark. Are there plans in the future to select mesh areas and increase mesh density? This could help with small fillet areas and raise or necessary text. So basically refining
the standard smart resolution.
In the software, if you want to increase the resolution in certain areas where there's more geometry with the PL3 or the PLOS, when you go to the advanced settings, you'll be able to select smart resolution. And smart resolution, basically what it does, it will divide the triangles and give you more resolution in areas where there's more geometry. So for example, if you are scanning a bolt where there is more geometry, finer details, the smart resolution will keep the smallest triangle possible in that area and then give you bigger triangles in flatter and bigger areas. So it will look at your mesh and it will determine what are the areas that have more geometry to give it more resolution, and what are the areas that have less geometry to give it less resolution. Because you don't need to have a million little triangles on a flat surface. You could have the same flat surface with bigger triangles, but in areas where you have more geometry and you need more density, more resolution, with the smart resolution, it will keep the smallest triangle possible there. So what are your resolutions when you're using the size option, like find extra and parameters? The resolutions, when you're selecting final course. Give me a second. I'm just going to change. Something. Okay, I'm just going to show you quickly what we have here. So if I show you, I'm just going to share my screen again quickly for your question, Mike, and show you. When you are in the parameters and you are setting the details, when you go to very fine, it gives you a resolution of 0.5 millimeters. Fine, it's going to be 1 millimeter. Normal 1.5, coarse 3 millimeters. And by using the smart resolution, you could have an off, standard, or high. This is where it will resize the size of the triangles on areas where you have more geometry. So it will keep, let's say, the 3 millimeters resolution for areas that have flatter surfaces, but then it will increase the resolution on your areas where you have more geometry. But if you go to the advanced or custom, you'll be able to also change the resolution and put it at the highest resolution if you need to. Let me go back, stop sharing. Can you share your question? And then, all right, so Mark, we have another question. What toggles smart resolution on? Mine is grayed out.
Resolution must be over 0.5.
So the resolution has to be over 0.5 millimeters, and then it will divide your triangles into smaller triangles for your higher density in your mesh. Then Curtis, follow up the previous questions. Are there any plans to allow importing STL files or other type files into PLOS in the future? Or is it too difficult to implement in the software things? For now, I don't think there are any plans for STL import or any other type of files. We could import files from previous generation of scanners from PL, so PL2 and PL2S, or even the PL1. We can import those files into PLOS and PLCAD, but STL files by themselves, no, we cannot import them in PLCAD. All right, so are there any other questions? All right then, so if we've answered most of the questions, thank you, Mike. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you for assisting to our webinar. We'll be doing more webinars like this when we have new features coming up, when they're good enough to show you. And thank you guys for being there. Thank you guys for assisting. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to communicate with us. You could communicate with me. I'm going to leave my email right here and the chat at tech.com. So if you have any questions, you could concerning sales or pricing or things like that, you can communicate with me. If you have technical questions, you could communicate with Marcio. So here is his email at tech.com. So you could communicate with both of us or the representative in your area, but we could answer any other questions that you have. So thank you guys for being here, and I hope to have answered all your questions, and hopefully we'll see you again next time. Thank you. Bye.